Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes, high score! Ah! Oh, that was silly. I mean, you can all clearly see that I'm holding a PlayStation 3 controller, and we're supposed to be talking about retro video games. Come on, Tom. Give your audience some credit here.
Sexy robot party, everybody's disco dancing. Sexy robot party, everybody's disco dancing.
As I mentioned, today we're supposed to be talking about retro video games that we played. Now, I have a confession to make. I may or may not be the youngest among the MSTHK. I know, my mature demeanor and chiseled features don't quite lend itself to maybe you thinking that. I'm not even entirely sure of it myself, but I think I might be, if not the youngest, then probably on the younger range. I'm really bad at judging ages in general. But I didn't really play a lot of the kind of classic retro video games. When Hung threw this one out there, he was talking about... Oh man, playing with that game left me out of breath. Yeah, that was a little sad. When Hung suggested this topic, he was talking about Link and Legend of Zelda. I never really played a lot of those retro video games. We didn't really have the NES or the Genesis or anything like that around my time, or any of the earlier ones. My first video game system was actually the PlayStation 2, way back there, and most of my games I started playing on computers. So I'm going to talk about a few of those that I really played and that really kind of shaped my gaming taste. Now, the first is one that probably a lot of you haven't heard of. It's called Escape Velocity, as well as there's two sequels, Escape Velocity Override and Escape Velocity Nova. Now, this was just a simple, if you look at it, it looked a lot like Asteroids. You basically flew a ship around and blasted at things. But it was actually a bit more complicated than that. You start off in a little shuttle, and you basically, all you could really do at the beginning was start doing missions to ferry cargo from one planet to another, and you'd kind of jump between systems and so on and so forth. And then you'd start to save up money and buy a bigger ship, and maybe you could take on some combat missions. Maybe you got involved in the local rebellion and the big overriding storyline. That was just the first game. Later on it developed, there were bigger storylines, fighting kind of evil alien races, even actually joining some of these alien races in terms of, they developed really kind of, in the last one they developed these really deep kind of races. It was supposed to take place like 4,000 years in the future, and there was this kind of Japanese type warrior race that you could end up joining, or this kind of telepathic proto-human race that you could join, or just stick with the plain old humans who were kind of a little evil, but not quite. It was a really neat game, but I really liked the idea that you could make a lot of choices. Your choices affected the world around you. Like, you could destroy planets, depending on how your choices kind of turned out. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And that kind of open world thing, I think, for me, really shaped things for me going forward. The other one I'm going to talk about is Alpha Centauri. This was an offshoot of the Civilization series, and it talked about, basically, had you building a civilization on an alien planet based around your own ideology. And you could kind of start to create your own kind of narrative, like what technologies you developed, what actions you took towards the other kind of factions that were around there, how you developed the planet, if you just kind of stripped it of its resources, worked with its resources, so on and so forth. It was just a really fascinating game in general, and I really found myself creating the backstory behind it. Just on my own time and even thinking about it. Now, the next game that I think that really kind of, not trapped me, but really kind of grabbed me was one called Morrowind, which was part of the Elder Scrolls series. It was a fantasy RPG kind of set in this kind of foreign, well, it's supposed to be a foreign land to you, essentially, called Morrowind. It was a big island, and it was just, the detail in the area was amazing. It was one of the first games where I'd walk around and I would, in character, kind of go, holy crap. Because they designed these like huge, amazing worlds that you could just kind of, like, once you got off the ship and you were kind of started, you could do whatever. You could follow the main plot line, you could not. You could just walk around picking herbs or fighting cliff racers or mud crabs or what have you. You could become a thief, you could become a warrior, you could become a priest of some kind. Whatever you wanted to do, you could do it. You could side with good, you could side with evil, you could... Well, actually, I don't think you could really side with evil. No, I don't think Morrowind really gave you the option to fully side with evil. I think if you side with evil, they just kind of killed you. But you could, you could join the assassins, the mages, you could ingrain yourself to one of the great houses of this land and even, like, work yourself up to become its kind of leader. even though you were a foreigner. And it just was hours and hours and hours of gameplay. And I would like start characters again and start to make new stories for these characters. And it was just really, really engrossing. I haven't gone back to it in a while. They've had a couple sequels since then, and I can't say I've really loved them as much. The new one, Skyrim, just came out, and it's the same idea where you can just kind of wander the world and you just kind of look up and go, holy crap. Like, it's one of the rare games I find where I would really like to visit that place. The other retro game I talk about is really only about 7 years old, but I think that's kind of old enough, and it's something I'd be a little remiss if I didn't talk about, which is WoW. WoW, or World of Warcraft, if you haven't tuned into this before and don't really know me at all, is a large, massive multiplayer online role-playing game, or MMORPG. And it's kind of similar to Morrowind in that there is a lot you can do and make your own choice on what to do. Not as much as Morrowind. You can't really just kind of run around and pick herbs. You can, but it's not really a good way to play the game. You don't really get very far in it. It is something where you start to really build a society and you build connections with people, and there is a lot of creativity. There are people who write stories about their characters, who start to think about their characters, who play with other characters as well. And it's just a really great world. I mean, my girlfriend's gotten into it and she's really enjoyed it as well. And this is someone who's never really played games before normally, which just to me is just amazing. And it's really a lot of this social environment, and I think that's where you'll see a lot of games heading now. Is not so much the single player duck hunt, what have you. It is the multiplayer. This is social. Now, this does tend to bring out some of the scum of the earth, essentially. But you can also meet some great people, and it's a great way for some people to kind of connect and get to know each other better, and to kind of just sharing an interest. You know, like I said, like my girlfriend and I have done. I think with a lot of these games, they have spurred my own creativity and kind of challenged me socially. I think I've learned a lot about kind of forming groups, working together, and just generally kind of working as part of a cohesive unit, really in a lot of these games. Now, more so, really more WoW than anything else, but I think each of these games can really kind of stir something in you. I think that's one of the great things about video games. Go play games. If you haven't try anything, try WoW. It's great fun, and as I said, even non-gamer girls can enjoy it. So, anyway, see you guys later.